to the Ask Schellie show. My name is Schellie Fanfan. I am your host, licensed psychotherapist here in the beautiful, sunny, and very hot state of Florida. I have the privilege of working with individuals and families and adolescents and married couples and providing therapy as a licensed psychotherapist. I have the privilege of working with corporations, providing psychoeducation that brings them to peak performance. I have the privilege of traveling the world, sharing the secret sauce to living in your smile. I have the privilege of being your host of the Ask Schellie show, where we entertain and provide feedback to very challenging life questions that our community members face. That's what we do here every week. Mostly every week, we entertain these questions that people write in. A husband wrote in about 2 weeks ago, and he says that he caught his wife masturbating. He feels like a sexual failure. He's coming to this community for your feedback. So those of you who are tuning in, I say this all the time, you become the members of my consultation team. Yes, your feedback is very, very valuable. This is in no way an attempt to replace therapy. We are providing feedback based on our own expertise, our experiences, the knowledge that we have, the interactions that we have had with loved ones. So we want you to share that. It's valuable. So many times my listeners will write in and say, your community, those comments in the thread fixed my life. So please make sure that you engage, share your thoughts in the comment section. You can also join me live right here on stage. You don't have to access your camera. You don't have to share who you are. All you need to do is go into the comment section. There's a pinned comment there. You click on that link and it takes you right here on stage with me, and you can provide your feedback live for our listeners. Yes? Make sure you go into the comment section. Let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. Again, go into the comment section. Let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. We are going to provide feedback to this gentleman who's coming to the Ask Schellie show, our community, for help on how to proceed. Are you ready for the question? Are you ready for the question? Make sure, again, you let me know who you are, where you are tuning in from. For those of you who are just joining us, you are tuning into the Ask Schellie show, where we provide feedback to individuals who are undergoing struggles and challenges in their own personal lives, and they send questions to get our feedback. And so I truly believe that we all have the power to empower other people. We have the power to empower. And how do we do that? We give them tools. In order to live well, you have to have a wellness toolbox that is overflowing. And that is what we do here on the Ask Schellie show. We have Sandy tuning in from Orlando. Orlando is in the building. Shelton from Queens, New York, my hometown. What's up, Shelton? Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you click on that share button. If you trust what we do here on this show, click that share button. You never, ever know whose line of sight or whose earshot this playback, this live will fall in. Everybody needs tools, and this is what we commit and dedicate ourselves to. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read the question. For those of you who are tuning in, don't forget to go into the comment section. Let me know who you are, where you are tuning in from. You can go ahead and click on the pinned comment and join me right here on stage to share your feedback live. You don't have to share who you are. You don't have to access your camera. You could provide your feedback in anonymity. And I already see some individuals joining us right here on the stage. We're going to go ahead and share the question of this afternoon. And are you ready? It reads, Dear Ask Schellie, after working out a few weeks ago, and I think we got this question maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So we're looking at something that's possibly happened maybe 5 to 6 weeks ago. So after working out a few weeks ago, I noticed that one of my free weights were missing, and I headed to the guest room to retrieve it. I could have sworn I had seen it there during a guest visit for the holiday. When I went to open the guest bedroom door, it was locked. I could hear what I am pretty sure was a vibrator, but my wife denies it adamantly. I went to open the door again, and this time the sound stopped. I asked her to open the door because at this point, no one else could have been in that room. The kids were aware, and clearly she was expecting me to work out for my regular 2 straight hours, and she was straight caught. She asked me what I needed, and I asked her to open the door. Again, she asked me what I needed, and I was annoyed. This went on, and I became more and more angry. When I started forcing the door open, she opened the door and turned the entire situation around, asking me why I was acting like an animal. Oh, what is wrong with you? Stuff like that. All distractions. I asked her what she was doing, and she said she does not have to answer what she does in her own house, and closed the door once again. I wanted to kick the door down, but asked her if my weights were in the room, and she confirmed that they were not. I was so angry, I worked out for an extra hour and waited for about a day or two to confront her. I asked her straight out, "Were you masturbating in the guest room the other day?" She acted all offended again, turning it around on me, saying, "Do I ask you what you are doing in your man cave?" She later denied it, and I know she was lying. How do you confront someone who is bold-faced lying? This is messing with my manhood. I feel like a failure. I give her no reason to masturbate. And that is the question that we are highlighting today. And so please go into the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Let me know your feedback for this man that is saying, "I feel like a failure. I give her no reason to masturbate." Hello, Lisa Stone from Kissimmee. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you who are watching and you would like to provide your feedback live, go ahead and click on the link in the pinned comment. It will take you right here onto the stage. I'm going to reread the question, and I am going to entertain your feedback. So my consultation team, join me in providing feedback to this man that says, how do you confront someone who is bold-faced lying? We want to make sure that we're able to give him some feedback to help push back on this idea that he is a failure, right? Feelings are not facts. Feelings are not facts. So add that to your wellness toolbox. Sandy says, does he really know that? She obviously isn't satisfied. Okay, Sandra Chambers Collins, and Sandy's tuning in from Orlando. Does he really know that? She obviously isn't satisfied. And she's responding to his comment that he gives her no reason to masturbate. Does he really know that? She obviously isn't satisfied. Ooh, so does masturbation evidence a lack of sexual gratification? That's a question that we need to ask ourselves. Does masturbation evidence a lack of sexual gratification? I'm going to go ahead and reread the question and entertain our guests who are tuning in live to provide their feedback. You can do the same by clicking on the link. You can also share your feedback in the comment section, and I am rereading. And the question that was shared with us for this week's Ask Schellie show. Dear Ask Schellie, after working out a few weeks ago, I noticed that one of my free weights were missing, and I headed to the guest room to retrieve it. I could have sworn I had seen it there during a guest visit for the holiday. When I went to open the guest bedroom door, it was locked. I could hear what I am pretty sure was a vibrator, but my wife denies it adamantly. I went to open the door again, and this time the sound stopped. You guys know I have to add my own little theatricals. So I went to open the door again, and this time the sound stopped. I asked her to open the door because at this point, no one else could have been in that room. The kids were away, and clearly she was expecting me to work out for my regular 2 straight hours and was straight caught. She asked me what I needed, and I asked her to open the door. Again, she asked me what I needed, and I was annoyed. This went on, and I became more and more angry. When I started forcing the door open, she opened the door and turned the entire situation around, asking me why I was acting like an animal. Oh, what is wrong with you? Stuff like that. All distractions. I asked her what she was doing, and she said she does not have to answer what she does in her own house and close the door. Once again, I wanted to kick the door down, but I asked her if my weights were in the room. Okay, I wanted to kick the door down, but asked her if my weights were in the room, and she confirmed that they were not. I was so angry. I worked out for an extra hour and waited for about a day or two to confront her. I asked her straight out, were you masturbating in the guest room the other day? She acted all offended, again, turning it around on me, saying, do I ask you what you are doing in your man cave? She later denied it, and I know she was lying. How do you confront someone who is bold-faced lying? This is messing with my manhood. I feel like a failure. I give her no reason to masturbate. He says, I give her no reason to masturbate. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to allow our guests who are joining me right here live to provide their feedback. You can do the same. Click on that link. It's a StreamYard link in the pinned comments. It'll take you right here on stage with me. You can remain anonymous and provide your valuable and clean feedback for this gentleman who is writing in. And so for those of you who don't want to join me right here, you can go ahead and you can share your feedback right in the comment section. Your feedback is valuable. So to the listener, one love. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ask Schellie show. You are joining me live on stage. You can go ahead, unmute your line and share your feedback.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Ooh, there's a lot to unpack in this one. I appreciate, first of all, you reading it because it gave me some context to think on. Okay, so let's. I have a couple things. So did I get booted off?
Oh, I can hear you now. You went out for a little bit, and we can hear you now.
Yeah, no, someone tried to call. Sorry about that. Okay, so the first thing is that, I think how he addressed her when he got to the door to see if the weights were in there, right? He heard a sound, right? He interpreted it to be a vibrator. That's fine. He asked her to open the door. When she asked, what is it? What do you want? Rather than saying what he wanted, he kept telling her to open the door. So the first thing that I got out of it was, it sounds like he was already in a confrontational state based on what he heard, right? So he wasn't in the, hey, by the way, are my weights in there? I'm just trying to get some weights. I'm not trying to interrupt you or whatever, etc. So I think that that's the first thing. Then the second thing was that stood out to me was he got angry the more she wouldn't open the door. And then she told that as he was trying to break down the door now. So clearly he has such a issue with masturbation that it's leading him to almost some sense of violence. Like you want to break down a door over this topic, which I find rather interesting, which I'll tell you about in a second. And then third, when he asked her the question a couple days later, and she said, do I ask you what you're doing? By her saying, not answering directly, but her posing a question back, I thought that was kind of a telltale sign too. Like, why are you all up in my business? Well, you're my wife. I thought we should be able to talk about things, right? So there's clearly a communication gap from what I can see between the two of them. You asked a very important question earlier, and obviously it's all about perspective, right? How you see things is more important than what you actually see. So the question was, is masturbation one of those things that because someone is not sexually satisfied, right? Or they're not getting gratification, I'm paraphrasing how you said it.
Right.
So then The answer is it depends on the person, right? I think because you could have someone that's doing it because she might have been in the mood. She's like, well, he's down there working out for the next couple hours. I want to, relieve myself. I'm saying this in a clean fashion. I'm following instructions. I want to relieve myself, right? And so she was probably in that space. So she probably was annoyed because now, her intimate time, so to speak, was interrupted right at that moment. But here's something that I ask you and your audience, Schellie. He said it affected his manhood.
Yes,
So it
yes.
got me thinking. I believe this situation has nothing to do with the masturbation. This situation has everything to do with him. Let me tell you why I say that.
Whoa.
The reason why I say it has everything to do with him is because he was already feeling this way before that. This adds another layer in my mind to what's going on, right? If he feels like I'm already pleasing her, then, and you're in that space of comfortability in your own skin, knowing that I am taking care of my wife, I'm confident that she's happy when it comes to our sexual relationship, then why would the first thing you think is that, oh, I'm not giving you a reason to? Right? Like she needs a reason to do that kind of thing. So he automatically connects it as lack of sexual gratification, as opposed to, hey, she might have just been in the mood and you weren't available at the moment, right? So that's one thing. Two, I also think that it depends on the person as well, right? Like if that was me, I'd have been like, hey, you want some company? Front room seat or something like that. Like I see things differently, right? So I think that there's a deep underlying issue that's going on with him, right? He may not have realized it until that particular day, but something else led to that. It's not catching her in the bedroom, in my opinion. It's not doing that. It's he had to have felt that way before for it to escalate to that point, to the point that you want to break down the door, the point that you want to get to that certain space, right? So I think that there's a lack of communication on both ends. It's clear. I don't know how long they've been married. Doesn't say how long they've been together or etc. So we don't know that to kind of understand the context of their relationship. But clearly there is a deep bridge, in a gap in the bridge of their communication. What she enjoys, what he doesn't enjoy. Is there spice in the relationship? Is it the same thing every time? Is it in the same place every time? Sometimes you gotta look at things a little differently. Like, well, what can you do to bring some satisfaction to your wife? Like, look at it as like, okay, how can I continue to add? So for him to say, I give her no reason to, I think he was overconfident. I think one of your community members said, "Well, maybe not," and that's a possibility too. Maybe not, and if so, find out what can you do. What can you do to satisfy your wife? Was it a thing of satisfaction, or was it, hey, I was feeling it in the moment? Because then again, all of a sudden now that puts everything in context, right? If it's it's not like he was laying next to her in bed and he thought he just, we finished and had a great session, so to speak, and then now all of a sudden, she's like, I'm not satisfied, I have to please myself. Now, Schellie, this is a bold statement, and I'll stop, but this is something else I think, okay?
Go
I
ahead.
think I think that when he thought what he heard, right? Because again, we don't know for certain what was exactly going on at that moment, but for whatever he thought that he heard, as far as my mind is concerned, he felt like there was someone else in the room with her that wasn't him. It's almost like the
Ooh.
tool was another man, or her hands was another man satisfying his wife. Like he couldn't do it, so another person had to do it, or worse, she had to do it herself because he couldn't do that. Rather than saying, oh, maybe we could add some spice to our relationship, maybe we could bring some things in here that'll do some things and bring more Spice, because again, everybody's different. Everybody has, as you teach so eloquently, erogenous zones and all these other things. You know, are they in lukewarm territory? Are they in hot zone? Like, you don't know. You might think you hot, but she might still be warm. Like, you don't know. So,
Come on.
but I would just say, and I would allow others to say, I really do think that when it's all said and done, there's an underlying issue with him. It's something that he needs to honestly reflect. So if, brother, you're listening, this is not even from a judgment place. This is from a love place. Every time you point a finger at someone, always remind yourself that several fingers are pointing back at you.
That's good.
Find out what it is inside of you that would make you feel like your manhood is at question because of a simple act. Right? Find out what it is that's that deep. Why do you associate masturbation with lack of pleasure? Why do you not associate it with something else? What is your reasoning behind it? And I pray that they really do have a good, healthy conversation so that they can move forward, because something like that could, you know, escalate to something even further unnecessarily and bring more harm to the relationship.
You better drop that mic, Dr. One Love. Thank you so much for your feedback. Oh my gosh, that was so awesome. Clearly from a man's perspective. Sandy Chambers Collins says, preach, brother. You better drop that mic. Listen, I heard him say, listen, when you started, we're talking to this man, right? I'm not yelling at you guys, but you, sir, King, the one that wrote in, when you started, you approached her in a confrontational type, right? A confrontational manner. You were trying to force that door open. It was not a safe space for her if she was masturbating to share that she was, right? So there was some type of conflictual, confrontational manner in which you approached it. And Dr. One Love says, so already you kind of took away the possibility or the chance that that challenge could have been turned into an opportunity. There's a communication gap that Dr. One Love says that needs to be addressed. Clearly, there is a lack of communication. I love the fact that Dr. One Love says this has less to do with the masturbation and more so to do with something going on the inside of this king, right? Where he felt replaced. He somehow felt replaced, like something or someone or something outside of me is pleasing my wife. And that is driving this feeling that he has where his manhood is being tested. And he talked about being a failure. And so really going deep inside and really exploring what those issues and circumstances are is a major opportunity. There are opportunities in every challenge that comes our way. We just have to take a deep breath and change our perspective and search for the opportunities in the challenges that come our way. Sandy Chambers Collins from Orlando says, women fake all the time. Unfortunately, married couples, if they have true intimacy, should be free to discuss what turns them on and how. Unfortunately, the women try to spare their partner's feelings or ego to a detriment to their own pleasure and peace of mind. Be honest about your needs, period. LA Donna is tuning in from Little Rock, Arkansas. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tati Tina Martine from Port Charlotte, Florida. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ask Schellie Show. We have another person here that's going to provide feedback live. You can do the same. Go into the pinned comment, click on that link that takes you right here on stage with me. You could share your feedback. You can keep your cameras off. You don't have to share who you are, and you could provide your feedback to this gentleman who is saying, I am a failure. I give my wife no reason to masturbate. And so, Anonymous, you are on stage live on the Ask Schellie Show. You can go ahead and unmute your line. You can share your feedback at this time or any questions you may have at this time. Go ahead and unmute your line. We are listening.
Hey, hello.
Hello there.
Hey, honestly, I don't think it's anything wrong with masturbation, number one. Number two, he did come at her in the wrong way. Number three, um, I can't remember what I was going to say. I feel that he should have, I don't know, I think he caught her before. He had to have caught her before masturbating. And the reason I say that is because she felt that she had to hide that from him. She felt a certain way about letting him know what she was doing. I also feel that when he caught her masturbating, if he ever had from this time, he should have joined in instead of feeling like, less than a man. Why not join in?
I'm laughing because someone commented yesterday and said the same thing. Why didn't you just join in? So that was interesting that your feedback is the same.
Yeah, join in. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just something we do. And I don't think we need your permission anyway to masturbate, honestly. And yes, I'm married. So my husband, I think that he will also join in if he saw me masturbating. There's nothing to hide.
What do you think about her hiding it? You think she was hiding it because she was caught before?
No, I think she was, yeah. And he made her feel some type of way. I think that's why she hid it. He made her feel like, I don't know. He just made her feel bad, like he doing now.
Got it.
That's her time.
In order for some great communication to happen, there has to be safety for it to happen. Now, there are people who have that courage where they can engage in conversation and communication even when they don't feel the safety. Most of the time, that's a required element to have some fruitful and productive communication between husband and wife. And the way that he came at her, our first guest said the same thing, that it didn't really provide a safe space for her to be honest about what was happening on the other side of that door. I heard you say that there's nothing wrong with masturbation, that he came at her in the wrong way, and you're believing that this may have happened before and she was caught before, which is why she is hiding. You are saying next time, sir, join in. And you are calling in from the perspective of a married woman. And I love that. Thank you so much for tuning into the Ask Schellie show. And thank you for your feedback. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. For those of you who are tuning in, you can go ahead and share your thoughts in the comment section. You can also join me right here on live by clicking on that link. It'll take you right to me. You can keep your cameras off and share your feedback. Listener, you are tuning into the Ask Schellie show. You are on stage with yours truly. Let us know what your feedback is or questions that you may have.
Hi, Schellie. I just wanted to piggyback off of everyone else, this most recent caller here, and then the gentleman right before her, I think just hit everything on the head as it relates to this situation. But I'm going to come in from a little bit of a different angle, or usually what I would normally say in these situations is, again, this lack of communication when we join into these relationships. Like, most couples are not talking about sex. And they're not talking about, intimacy issues when they first get together. And so I believe, like the previous gentleman that was on said, I believe he's had an insecurity, probably, regarding his performance for a while. And I think her just engaging in that, it triggers him in a sense. And so when couples get together, I just think it's so important to remember, are you having the conversations around what you guys like, what you don't like, what your preferences are? Like, did she ever learn what her husband's view is on, like, masturbation, for example? And so I think communication is this is a testament to why communication is so important.
Yes.
In relationships, and not just assuming what your partner is thinking, feeling, likes, dislikes, for example. And so he probably should get some individual, therapy to kind of address some of the insecurities that he's having, because I think that that's really what this boils down to. So I just wanted to kind of add, because the last two people that spoke kind of said everything that I wanted to say.
I love it. You said the I word, insecurity. Insecurity. I think it kind of dovetails into what everyone has said. Guest number one talked about, this has a lot more to do with him than it does the fact that he caught his
And
wife
her.
masturbating. And you said another important word. You said trigger. So there was something about what he thought was happening on the other side of that door that triggered his own personal insecurities as a man. You talked about conversation being
Absolutely.
important, that it is that we should not assume that we know what our partners are thinking, and that requires open communication. How would you suggest a woman openly communicate about something that is often found so taboo? You know, we're socialized
Yeah.
to believe that women should conduct themselves sexually, right, in a certain way. And so, how would you encourage women to have those courageous conversations despite what we're socialized to believe, right?
Sure.
Besides that taboo, to have those open conversations so you don't have to wait for your husband to go work out for 2 hours to get your groove on in the guest room.
So funny. So funny. Right. And that is a good question because, you know, depending on what you believe, right? For those of us who are Christian, right? Or depending on, you know, just in general, right? A person's belief system, that also is going to depend on, I think, the kind of conversations that we have. So that needs to be considered first, right? Like, well, you know, what are your belief systems, right? Are you Christian? Are you not Christian or whatever? But I mean, maybe unpopular. I'm just one of those people that kind of will blurt it out during times when, like, not so much in serious conversation. So I don't know if it's gonna make sense, but you know, sometimes you're just talking with your partner and you're just, I don't know, having a glass of wine or you're just kind of chilling and you're talking about different things under the sun, right? I'm one of those people that would like just ask the person, but when the tone is light, and I would just be like, well, how do you feel about like masturbation? Or like, how like do you masturbate? Like, how do you feel? Like, so I'm one of those people. I don't really have a fancy way of putting it, but I'm just one of those people that I would just say it, but I would say it depending on the setting that we're in. I would just ask my partner, like, what are their thoughts on that, right? Or, you know, so I don't really have, like I said, a fancy way of putting it, but just ask, just say, like, and ask like maybe in a general way. I tend to do stuff like that. Like I'll just say, like, well, what do you think about this? Even if I don't want to kind of out myself, right? I'll just say, like, well, what do you think? Or I use like when we're watching certain shows, and I'll use it as an opportunity to be like, so what do you think about that? Or what would you do in that situation? So I don't know if people can relate to that a little bit and then just try to gauge like where your partner is, you know, what your partner is thinking or what they're feeling about those particular touchy topics. Like I think somebody said there's a new show on Netflix called Sex Something. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. It starts with sex. Watch a show and then turn to your partner and be like, so what do you think about that? Or like, how do you feel about that? So I'm one of those people where I'll sneak it in that way. I'll bring it up that way. And so that's the suggestion that I have. How do you touch those touchy topics? Sometimes it's difficult to do it in a serious kind of way, like, hey, what do you think about that? Or how do you feel if I do that? So then make it a little bit more lighthearted and maybe even ask indirectly. So I don't know if this is like, you know, therapeutically correct, but ask it indirectly if it's uncomfortable, but at least you're having the conversation. You can kind of like pick their brain and see how they feel about it.
Because at least the conversation is happening, right? So even if you decide to go indirect, right, at least there's some type of exchange happening on the topic versus not talking about it at all. I love the idea about like watching a show together, watching a show together, and then just kind of dovetailing into the conversation or an article. And like you said, just say it. Just come out and say it. Practice it for a couple of days.
And they have a whole bunch of things going on in reality TV world, right? Like watch one of those shows, Married in 90 Days, 30 Days, or Love and Hip Hop somebody. And just as you see these scenarios and these topics, whatever it might be, that are uncomfortable or taboo, you can just tell your partner, turn to your partner and just say, well, what do you think about that? How do you feel about that? And so it is hard to have some of the difficult conversations. And sometimes the question is, how would I go about that? I may not just feel comfortable blurting something out, like, are you okay with me masturbating? Are you okay with this? Like, but maybe do it in a more indirect way so that you learn your partner. But see, when I love these Ask Schellie segments, because these questions that come in and the things that are going on with these couples, it just, to me, goes very back to the basics of there is not enough communication about these topics, all of the various topics that you talk about on the show. There has not been enough talk directly or indirectly about them. And so when these things happen, it's like an explosion, and no one really knows each other. And it's just a testament to that.
I agree. And it's like, I want to say, I mean, is it fair to say like 85% of the time when we get these questions about relationships, there's a lack of communication that is just so clear. And here we are, a lack of communication that causes someone who is supposed to be one with her husband hiding like a child in the guest room to please herself, him being completely upset and just kind of, causing the situation to be exacerbated, where it could be prevented by having some great conversation. And we have to just do it. Thank you so much for tuning into the Ask Schellie Show. Your commitment to joining us and to tuning in every week is humbling. Thank you again. I love that. We got some gems right there. I see you guys dropping gems here on Facebook and YouTube as well. Let's go to the comments here. We have Martine, who says, join in. Ask her what she might want him to do to fulfill her needs during this moment. But from a man's perspective, I can see why he would feel this way. My husband will never play with a toy with me, but we communicate about other stuff that can enhance intimacy. Woo! Thank you so much for that transparency. So her husband won't do it. This is what this woman is saying. Her husband is not open to it, but they communicate about it, and they have found other ways to enhance their intimacy. So good. We have LaDonna saying, why did she lock the door? Is she insecure in her sexuality? Personally, I would be excited about the possibility of him walking in on me masturbating, leading into a full contact session. And this goes back to what I was saying. There are opportunities in every challenge. I was trying to say that as nice and clean as I possibly could. Thank you so much for sharing your feedback. Marjorie Latour says that the show is a great idea. She's talking about the comment that was made. Watch a show together and then allow the show to kind of open the doors for some great and effective communication. She says the show is a great idea. Watching can prompt some sexual intimacy as well. Marjorie Latour continues to write, conversation is key. It's okay to laugh about it because that too can release the tension. Lisa Stone says communication is key, but I really feel that he is very insecure. I bet he masturbates and just never been caught since he wants to go there. I also feel that it has nothing to do with him. He made her feel some type of way, whereas though she feels that she has to hide it. Just maybe she wants to turn herself on for him, or to make herself feel some type of way, or just maybe to relieve some stress, which is one of the main reasons that is listed, I want to believe, on one of the articles that I read on Psychology Today, that stress release is one of the main reasons why people report masturbating. So I'm going to provide my feedback. Thank you so much to all of you who are tuning in. Continue to share your thoughts in the comment section. You can also join us here live. Let's see. Oh, I have another guest. Let me just make sure everyone here. I have a couple of more people here on stage with me. I see some cameras on. Just want to make sure that that is the wish of our guests before I bring them on. Let's see if there's anyone that wants to come back on. Let me know. All right, so here we go. We have another guest. Oh, this is a hot topic. All right. right, so we have another guest joining us to provide feedback. We are talking about a husband who walked in on his wife masturbating. He is now saying, I feel like a sexual failure. I give her no reason to masturbate. He was very angry at first and wanting some direction on how to confront someone who is bold-faced lying, he said in his question. You are live on the Ask Schellie show. You can go ahead and unmute your line and ask your question or provide your feedback.
Hey, Schellie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much for tuning in.
I was waiting to get into this conversation. I got held up at work, so I jumped in late, and I apologize if anything that I say sounds like something that everybody else said, because more than likely it probably was said to a degree. But when I went through this, it felt like he made it about him. And when you really take it back, like he walked, like he went to go work out. He went to go look for his weights, manly stuff. He went to go open that door, can't open the door. Now he's about to beat the door down because he can't get to what's inside. But now something that's inside, he's like, wait, that's a competitive thing that just came out in him. So now he walks in, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not say this, but you know, his competition now is not a person, it's a dildo. And that and whatever whatever this machinery that she's working with has become his competition. And there is no man who wants to feel like, okay, I'm not satisfying my woman. I'm a man. I do it well, you know, and it kind of beat your chest kind of thing. So when he reacted, and remember, I said reacted, he's not looking at this and saying, oh, okay, like his failure is really his own. I'm not even calling it insecurity. This is his own competitive drive that just drove into this whole scene here. And he made it all about himself. Like, oh, what do you mean I can't do it for you? What are you doing in here, woman? You're not supposed to be in here without me. So it's almost as if she needed permission to be with herself. And it has nothing to do with him. If self-pleasure is a natural thing, and if he's never known it to be that way, which is that I will say, Maury is a bold-faced lie, because you know he's at least slipped down a few times at some point in his life. But I think it's taboo when you talk about it for a woman, and that's what happens a lot of times in a lot of things called labeled sexual, is a woman is not allowed to embrace her sexuality as openly as a man could or would. And the fact that he walked in on it and he wasn't invited, you don't know if he has a problem with it, if he wasn't spoken to about it. So to another person's point, maybe getting that invitation, he got left out. How would you feel if you're the one who lives in this house and somebody threw a party and didn't invite you and you live in the house? You feel left out. Now, I don't think it's just about being left out. I do feel it was a defensive kind of reaction he had. And the fact that he's going around and accusing her and saying she's a liar, okay, the fact that she said something, what he's not taking into consideration is she got walked in on. So what happens a lot of time, embarrassment shows up as anger. She's not, she could have just been embarrassed about it. Maybe she was raised in such a way that maybe that's not supposed to happen, right? Good. So if she's thinking that, and he's thinking in the counterpart to that, both of you have two people that are embarrassed. She's embarrassed because she got walked in on. He got embarrassed because he walked in on it. You know what I mean? So what did the both of them do? Lash out at each other. They're angry about what's happening, but it doesn't need a why. It really doesn't need to be explained. If anything, I'd just be like, oh, I'm sorry. And I would walk out. As the man, I'd be like, oh, snap. I didn't know she was into that. And if there is something, that is an opportunity for a conversation. So like, can me and your friend get together? And if he feels some kind of competition about it, just be like, oh, what can I do to top it? I don't know, make it another activity, make it some other competition. You could beat your chest in so many different ways, but making her feel small because of something that she was doing to pleasure herself is not fair. That was embarrassment. That got displaced. He's now up in a puff and he's looking for some reason to be justified in his anger. But really, I think he just needs to take a step back and stop accusing her of being a liar. That's unfair. B, stop giving her a reason to be embarrassed for her just enjoying herself. That's not necessary either. Take a step back and reflect on yourself now and say, okay, if she walked in on me, would I be like, what's up? No, you would not be. You'd be like, oh, snap. And you'd probably pick up and turn around or do something. And this is your wife. You would still feel embarrassed, not because of what you were doing, but because you got caught. That's it. That's all it is. So to your writer, do not feel upset. You should not feel like a failure. You should just feel like, okay, my girl has something going on. She maybe needed something. I walked in on her. That's unfair. You know what? Let me apologize. Start there. And then start diffusing some of this stuff because he's got some stuff going on. And now she's going to feel even more introverted about it. Whereas you could have just unleashed a wild woman just there. You missed your opportunity, you know? So I would take a step back. He's not a failure. He just needs to stop being so competitive. That little thing can never compete with the entire experience of a man. So if you need to give yourself something, you are the kit and caboodle. If she has this one little noodle and you've got the whole thing, you know, that thing doesn't have arms, that thing does not have lips, that thing does not have breath, that thing does not have anything else to satisfy any other point in your body. It can't get into your head. None of that. So come on now, you take your stand in that space and just say, that little thing, let her have that. She'll have a little bit of me later. And that's it. That is it right there.
Let's go. Okay.
And I am done. Dropping the mic. Bam.
Guys, drop the mic. Okay, guys, you guys gotta give her some hearts. You gotta give her some thumbs. That was amazing feedback. That little toy cannot replace the embrace of a man, the whole, the lips of a man, the entire experience. So she says, dude, king, it's okay, relax. That you can never be replaced. That one little thing, that noodle, she called it. Do they have noodles now? I don't know. But could never replace you. Dr. One Love, you are back on live on the Ask Schellie show. Sounds like you have some more to share. You can go ahead and share your thoughts. Woo!
I don't even know. Like sometimes you gotta let the air marinate for a second. Let the air marinate. 'Cause that sister dropped bombs. Like she did Hiroshima on this call. She just said boom,
like,
you know.
It's
but you know
over.
what? I have to say, I'm not even gonna try. Here's what I will say. I want to answer a couple of the comments, right? I think, and actually, what a couple of these ladies, by the way, your ladies are on fire today.
I love it.
The sister that said that, you know, oh, one second. I'm sorry.
No, you are fine. You're fine. Guys, those of you who are tuning in, continue to provide your feedback right there in the comment section. This is so amazing. Your feedback is amazing. Someone just put in, you need more than 1 hour for that topic, Schellie. I know, Martine.
Yes.
Every time this comes up, it seems like we can't close it down in an hour. Go ahead. I gave you a title, Doctor. One Love. Go ahead.
All right. So thank you. So when she said that, I think he caught her before, I believe that. And the reason why that makes sense to me is because of how he reacted. Not responded, how he reacted, right? Or he's had a past relationship that something similar has happened. And it's like the trigger. That was another key word that was brought up today. A trigger that happened with that. And then when they said, one of your wonderful guests said, hey, you know, why did she lock the door? Was she insecure? I don't know if it was necessarily insecure. In my mind, it's like, hey, I'm just having a private session with myself. Like it wasn't so much that she clearly was cool about it, but I think he made her feel insecure about it. You follow what I mean? Like the way he reacted to her, that all of a sudden, like the sister just said, there was a major opportunity. If that was me, I would have went back downstairs. I would have got some fruits. I would have got some whipped cream. I would have got some stuff, and I would have came back upstairs and be like, hey, special delivery, you know, something like it's going down. There's no way you're wasting the opportunity. There's just no way to do that. Mm-hmm. So my brother, again, and then calling her a liar. Okay. what did she technically lie about? Let's really look at that, right? Like, what did she lie about? Did she lie that what she was doing? Because maybe at that moment that you heard the sound, maybe she just turned it on. Maybe she didn't get to that point yet. Maybe she was about to start, but you don't know because you were on the other side of the door. You did not see. You only heard, so you can only infer what you thought was going on the other side. You have no idea. You have no real proof. So because you don't have proof, you cannot all of a sudden say, you know, you're guilty of something that you have no official proof on. You have to be able to look at the situation for what it is. You went confrontationally to her, right? Once she said, what is it that you need? If you were secure in yourself, you could have been like, hey, babe, I'm just trying to get my weights. Are they in there? End of discussion. She would have said no, and you could have kept it moving. Later on, you could have been like, hey, you know, I heard some sounds going on in there. I'm just saying, can I be down? You know, like find ways to find creative ways to spark that conversation. Shows. I love what the sister said. When you watch certain shows or you hear certain things and something comes on, a scene comes on in a movie, and you're like, hey, you know, what you think about that? We think we should try that? You know, like that's how you find out. But here's what I can say, and I found this to be true. Most times in relationships, unfortunately, even to the altar, you don't marry the person, you marry their representative. Let me explain. So because they're not themselves truly from the beginning, right? It's like, I want to impress Schellie, so I'm going to do and say and talk what I think Schellie wants and hide some of my true self, the things that I think that she may not like. So I'm not being my true self. So if I'm not being my true self, now all of a sudden I'm married to Schellie, and all of a sudden this imposter shows up. Because you see, you can only hide your true self, but for so long.
But for so long. Come
right?
on, Dr. One Love.
So the imposter now shows up. And when the imposter shows up, now you have more conflict. Because you're like, well, who are you? You've never been this way with me before. Well, that's because you weren't dating me. You were dating my representative. You were dating what I thought you wanted, not who I really am. And that happens, unfortunately, on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like you're one of the ladies in there said, unfortunately, women have.
Oh, the devil is a liar, Dr. One Love. We can't hear you. Oh, man, he dropped off. No. But, man, that represent. Let me tell you something, sir. This is King, the one that wrote in. The representative was out to lunch, sir. When you were working out, her representative was out to lunch. Whether that representative was a Bible-toting, good woman, mother, that, not to say she wasn't, not to say she isn't, but her representative just happened to be out to lunch. Go ahead, One Love.
Yeah, sorry about that. Everybody trying to call me and mess up. That's how you know when you're saying something true, right? But yes, it's like you're dealing with the representative. You're not dealing with the person. You got to be willing to be true to yourself and have these real conversations in the relationship. As you progress in the relationship, so should the communication. The communication should progress, especially if you're going down the aisle with someone. You should know these things before you go down so that you could understand, right? The sister said, hey, my hubby, he would never play with toys with me. And I respect him. Why? Because at least he told her that's his boundary. That's his safe space. That's a point that he's not willing to go through, right? Cool. But what did he say? But let's find other ways we can spice up our intimacy. Let's find other ways to make it work. That part, I have 1,000 respect for him as a man.
I do too.
Why? Because now at least he's still trying to find the satisfaction means for his wife, but at least let his wife know, hey, you know what? I'm just personally not comfortable with those things, right? So that to me is a sign of true communication. That's the way that their relationship should be. You should be able to tackle these things head on, have these full conversations, and respect what the other person is saying. And then still try to find common ground on how we can make it work. And me, knowing me, again, this sis, I'm not saying anything about your hubby. I'm just putting it out there. But like, for example, if, okay, my hubby's not cool with playing with toys, I would ask the question, I'm just curious, why? Was there something? Is there something about it? Have you ever tried it before? Is it the thought of it? What is it about the toys that turns you off or that puts you in this place that's like it's an automatic no? Like, you don't know, right? And you'd be amazed. Like my sister said, like, you could have opened up a beast of a situation. Like, you have no idea. Like, you thought you had your wife before, maybe at 20%. You might have unloaded 60 or 70% if you had approached that entire situation differently. It's all about how you see it. If you see it as a negative, then guess what? That's what you're going to get back. But if you see it as an opportunity, then that's exactly what you were going to get. And I promise you, you would not have been working out for 3 hours. You would have been working out upstairs, not downstairs.
In that guest room.
In the guest room. And we would laugh every time guests would come over and be like, if they only knew what went down in here yesterday. Anyway, back to you.
Woo! Man, if you would have approached it differently, King, we wouldn't even have this show today. Because it would have been a whole different situation. You would have got to meet your wife in a whole new way because her representative was not in the building, okay? Lisa Stone says, man, 1 minute, I may want my husband, and the next I may want to pleasure myself. There's nothing wrong with masturbation. It's bad when you're married and can't be yourself. Martine says, love it. Sandy says, yes, say so, sister. And she was referring to the woman that called in right before we brought Dr. One Love back on the stage. Martine says you need more than 1 hour for this topic. I totally agree. I haven't even got to speak yet, and I'm good. I think that our listeners are full, and I hope that our writer got exactly what he needed. Joseph Williams Metallist says he's big mad. Why stop her? I'm jumping in. Let's make you feel better. I'm not getting upset about that. If she kicked me out for it, then I'd be like, what happened? If she's in need, dive in like Trey Songz. I love it. LA Donna says, I hope I'm saying that right. LA Donna, LaDonna, there is a lack of communication when it comes to how they satisfy each other. Martine says, yes, Dr. One Love, we gave him his degree and everything. Gave him a whole name. I think we should have Dr. One Love on this show all the time, especially when we're talking about relationship issues. And the whole crew today, everybody who called in, I think they need to join me here every time we have a relationship question. That's my consultation team. And Marjorie says, that's why Dr. Love is right. He was triggered. And Lisa Stone says, okay, Dr. One Love. LA Donna says, preach. And we're talking about Dr. One Love, relationship representative. And we've already concluded that the representative was out to lunch in that moment. Toys are competition, Jackie says. Marjorie, I want to know too. LOL. Marjorie says, toys can make you numb when you use it too much. LOL. I had to stop using them. Boy, talk about transparency today on the Ask Schellie show. And she goes on to write, King would have said toys helped my marriage. Jackie says, Mr. Ryder, let her find satisfaction with both you and herself. Woo! Let her find satisfaction with both you and herself. Wow, 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 wow. We have someone here on stage who would like to join in for some final comments. I believe you are live here on the Ask Schellie show. You can go ahead and unmute your line and share your thoughts whenever you're ready.
I was going to say never mind because I really just wanted to talk about Dr. One Love that was just on because he said that. That was all I was going to say. He really said that, like, how often do we get a representative? And I mean, for him to bring that part, as I'm saying, that part right there into this equation. And so, no, I was just kind of doing my amen, commenting in the background. That's all I wanted to add. And you should have us as regular panelists because, you know, we're like bomb. We're like bomb over here. But I just wanted to say that Dr. One Love really brought that fresh perspective about the situation too, as it relates to who we actually get with. And I think that still goes back to why the communication is important, but it still doesn't prevent everything because people kind of show us what they want us to know. So I just wanted to say he really said that. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining in and hanging out right here on stage with us. This is so fun because not only do the people who log in share their thoughts, they actually hang out. And I really, really love that. And so for those of you who are tuning in, we have been having a good old time talking about this gentleman who caught his wife masturbating and feels like a failure. We had a whole hour already. A whole hour of just feedback, and I'm completely full. And I hope that this woman, I hope that this man who wrote in got double portion of feedback, okay? Double portion to apply. Now, listen, knowledge is application of acquired skill. So I would hope that not only are we listening and allowing ourselves to be entertained, but to also be informed. And ensure that you are applying skill. This show is about adding tools to your wellness toolbox. That is what it's about. I'm going to provide some very quick feedback, probably more from a psychotherapeutic perspective. I think that all of it that we have already listened to was psychotherapeutic, it was spiritual, it was all of the above. I want to take this time to highlight some of the common reasons why couples usually come in for intimacy coaching. Okay, just some quick highlights, and there are many. And I don't want to put this any like order of importance, but most of the time when people come into the office and they are wanting intimacy coaching, it's because they want to maximize sexual gratification. And in that, they fail to realize, or they didn't have the knowledge to understand that that is rooted in maximized intimacy. Because you can have great and amazing sex cannot promote amazing and maximized intimacy. But maximized intimacy can promote amazing sex. So a lot of times when people are coming in because they want to maximize sexual gratification, it's a maximization of intimacy that they truly need. People come in because they're feeling disconnected in bed. And most of the time it's rooted in not communicating, right, to one another about expectations and desires and fantasies. We have people that come in because they're dissatisfied with a certain aspect of sex with their loved one, right? And so there are three main domains that we look at when we're looking at satisfaction, and that is frequency, duration, and intensity. So if you are listening and you have an issue with sexual gratification with your partner, you got to start to break it down and kind of look at these things. Like, is it the frequency that's the issue, the duration, the intensity? We can go on and on and on. So what I do is I conduct something called a BC assessment, which is short for bedroom culture assessment. So to ensure that I'm not using my own personal standards when I'm helping others, because I guess in certain aspects, I could be liberal and in other aspects, super conservative. But guess what? As an intimacy coach, it really doesn't even matter what it is I believe, because it all falls back on the bedroom culture of the couple that's coming in for coaching, right? And so I have to identify the bedroom culture of the couple that's here for services. We have to be able to point out whether their bedroom culture is in alignment with their needs, with their expectations, with their values, with the psychological aspects of connectivity. Let me say this again. The goal of a bedroom cultural assessment, right, is to take a look at whether or not the bedroom culture of that couple aligns with their needs, both aligns with their expectations, talking about husband and wife, aligns with their values and the psychological aspects of connectivity and attachment, which promotes amazing sex, especially when two people are very intentional about leaning into the day-to-day practices that maximize intimacy. Just to give you an example of the power of intimacy, there are studies that are very clear, right? Very clear that men maintain longer and stronger erections when emotionally connected to the women, while women excrete higher levels of lubrication over longer periods of times, right? When you compare them to women who engage in sexual relations for a man that they are not emotionally connected to, or for women who engage in sexual connections with a man that's not into her, which goes to prove that most of the time women, we know. And we cannot really maximize our lubrication when we know this man is really not for me, right? So when there is that intimacy happening on both sides, it maximizes intimacy, and that opens the door for amazing sex. So when we're talking about bedroom culture, this man is shocked because masturbation is just not a part of their bedroom culture. It's not their norm. So he's like, wait, she can't possibly be satisfied if she's doing this behind my back. And guess what? That may not be the truth. Why? Feelings are not facts. And the fact that someone enjoys masturbation does not necessarily mean that they are not sexually gratified with you. So let's bring it back to his question. How do you confront someone who is bold-faced lying? This is what he says. Well, sir, if you don't have proof, like live video footage to play back right in front of her face, all you can do is share your observations and concerns. And if she continues to choose to not be honest about it, you pivot. Because if you spend so much time on trying to prove her wrong and prove yourself right, you lose sight of the root of the problem, right? So number one, if she continues to deny it, let it go. Number two, the bigger picture is that you believe that she may not be satisfied or sexually gratified. Let's lean into that some more, right? This idea that she may not be sexually gratified. So you need to set up a safe conversation, wine her, dine her, honor her, and engage her in effective conversation. Communicate about your expectations of one another. What I like to do is this assessment of expectations. Go on a cruise, go on a staycation, just, create a safe space between you and your wife, whatever that is. Go to a beautiful hotel or resort, make it really nice, make it intimate. And then you do this. The both of you sit down, you write a list of your expectations of the other person. In this particular case, we're talking about expectations that are sexual in nature. And then you're going to circle everything that you wrote on that list. You're going to circle the expectations that have been met. And then you're going to put a star next to each of those expectations that have not been met. And you can use this as a way to open conversation about the things or the expectations that you have, or the desires and needs that you have that are not met. Number three, if you feel that she's still being closed and unwilling to share, get a mediator. Your presence may unintentionally, or just the nature of your relationship, may be providing her or not providing her the safe space to be open, transparent, and vulnerable. A mediator is trained to create that safe space so two people can be vulnerable and transparent and get to the root of the problem. Number four, a trained therapist that specializes in intimacy and marriage, attachment, bonding, again, can create that space for you. So be open-minded. That's number four. Be open-minded about counseling and pray about her willingness to engage as well. If your marriage means that much to you, do all that you can to cause it to be the best it can be. That has to be intentional. I do this thing in marriage counseling where the husband and the wife each get a plant, and they take the plant home with them for about a week or two. And they treat this plant the way that they feel. So if they feel valued, they feel paid attention to, if they're feeling really good, they are expected to care for that plant the same way. And so in a week or two, they come back with that plant and we assess what that plant is saying about the culture of their marriage. About 60% of the time, those plants come back completely dead. So clearly that tells me that we have to reset the thinking of the couples that come in for therapy, because we have to be intentional about maximizing intimacy. Number five, understand, King, Understand this. The fact that she is masturbating does not necessarily mean that she is not satisfied or sexually gratified. We said that many times today. In fact, there are many individuals who are married that engage in masturbation. When individuals are in a marriage and try to find their bedroom culture, we openly explore feelings about what the other person may desire, that the other may not. Right? For example, many Christian couples come in to try to resolve this very conflict, where one may want to engage in masturbation while the other may feel that it is sinful behavior. So from a psychological perspective, when masturbation interferes with maximizing intimacy, that is what we identify as a problem, right? When masturbation interferes with maximizing intimacy, right? When masturbation is no longer an enhancement, but a replacement. That's the issue. Let me say that again. When masturbation becomes replacement and not enhancement. So, King, I encourage you to do some reflection and meditation. Sit outside when the weather is beautiful, deep breathe, and say to yourself, I am a provider. I am a lover. I am a father. I love my wife. I am a devoted husband. And how do I know these things? I mean, you can't have a guest room when you're living in lack, because your guest room are air beds when people come to your house, right? So you got a guest room. I'm assuming you guys are doing okay. You're working out a couple of hours a day. I'm assuming you're looking good. You had people at your home for the holidays. I'm choosing to believe that you are a devoted husband that needs to push back against the thoughts that are self-condemning. I love your confidence where you said, I give her no reason to masturbate. Let us now channel that confidence in a way that meets the immediate needs of your marriage. Open your eyes, explore different alternatives, and do what your marriage needs to take this challenge and turn it into an opportunity. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to the Ask Schellie Show. Thank you all for your support. I have to thank my consultation team members, my panelists that joined today and dropped the mic after every comment. I see that we have one more person that added. If you want to share your thoughts, please let me know. You could just go into the private chat and let me know that you are ready to share any thoughts or share any questions. Your camera is on, so if that is your desire, fine. You can turn your camera off and I'll bring you right here on stage. Again, for those of you who are tuning into the Ask Schellie Show, thank you so much for your support. Share, share, share. We want women to be open about their sexuality. We want to work against this socializing that causes women to feel shame and guilt about their sexuality. We want to fire the representative, right? We want to fire the representative in marriages. Send that representative home. Take the muumuus off. Take the bonnets off. We want you to just bask in the glory of you being you. You being you. Woo, boy. Oh boy. Okay, let me go back. I see some new comments. Here. Wow, this is so good. I don't even know where to start. Wow. Let's go back to Jackie Ganther, who said, Mr. Writer, let her find satisfaction with both you and herself. I just love that. Why does it have to be one or the other? I love that. Martine says, I never thought asking hubby reason for not wanting to use toys, but I will ask Dr. One Love. I would love to hear that feedback. If we have a part 2, Martine, I want to hear what he has to say about that. Sandy Chambers Collins says, intimacy. This is good. Marjorie says, facts over feelings. Martine says, be open-minded. Jackie says, yes, ma'am, not a replacement, right? We want enhancement, but not replacement. Martine says, that was awesome. Jackie, great topic. Let's do a round 2. We definitely will. Sandy Chambers Collins says, great conversation and topic. This is not typically spoken about in the Christian realm, but much needed. Kudos. And Jackie says, no mouchoirs. No mouchoirs. No momos. Embrace the true essence and beauty of your sexuality. And that is our message to all of our amazing queens today. Kings, just get your manhood right? Make sure that your manhood is rooted in things that cannot be uprooted, right? That cannot be uprooted by things that are not necessarily a threat to you. I loved one of our panelists said that a toy can never replace a man's touch, his warmth, his protection, his love, his kiss. And so just reframing our thoughts about certain things are truly important. And thought reframing, by the way, is a skill. Thought reframing is a skill. And like my mentor says all the time, your breakthrough is on the other side of something you do not know. So open your mind, right, to entertaining new skills, new mindsets, and change the trajectory of your life. We'll be back with part 2. I guess we got to do a part 2 now. I would love for you guys to consider being on the panel and joining me right here on stage next time. Listen out for the next topic. And if you have any questions related to this, please email info@askschellie.com. info@askschellie.com. You can submit additional questions, additional comments, right, about what we talked about today. Someone talked about, I'm going to go back and talk to my husband about his issues with using toys as an enhancement. Write into info@askschellie.com. Let us know what he says. We will highlight that on an Ask Schellie show. So don't be afraid. Email info@askschellie.com. You can also visit me on my website, www.askschellie.com. You can book me there for speaking engagements. You can book a consultation with me for those of you who feel like you need more individual or group support. You can also submit your challenging questions there, www.askschellie.com. Thank you in advance for going to my YouTube channel, Ask Schellie, and subscribing, and that would give you access to all of my videos over the past year and a half. I truly hope that this was a benefit to you and you were able to add tools to your wellness toolbox. Till next time, be blessed, be great, and fire your representative. Can we all fire our representative? Because firing your representative will set you free. Amen.